Hi guys, welcome back to the Geterbrewed channel. Today we're going to look at adjuncts. Whenever you're brewing a beer, you need four things: malt, water, hops and yeast. Increasingly, people are starting to experiment more and more with adjuncts in the beer. So we're going to split the adjuncts into three for the purposes of this video. First one is the malted, then there is the micronised and torrefied, and then there is the sugars. So the difference, very briefly, is malted have gone through a process of steeping, germination and kilning, and they have the enzyme activity to carry out the fermentation, I suppose, in a healthy and successful way, whereas you want to limit the use of the micronized and torrefied products to less than 20% addition rate. The reason we're doing that is you're going to use the diastatic power in the other base malts to carry out the enzyme activity for these, so you don't want to have issues with your fermentation by using more than 20%. The sugars will ferment out 100% because they're sugars. Now let's take a moment and just go through some of these individually. So here we have rye malt. So rye is something that you need to be cautious of when crushing, or if you're buying it crushed from us, we will crush it for you. It's tough, long and thin, so you're going to want to tighten up the malt settings. We do that with a grist analysis here. You're going to want to get that crushed correctly. Now be careful with these products. Find a balance between using these products at high percentage and getting a good extract or runoff, and you don't want to get a stuck sparge. One of the solutions to that is to ensure that you include some rice hulls in the grist so that it allows for a good runoff. So what does rye bring in terms of additions? So on low dosage rates, rye can bring some nice toffee and caramel flavors, and in a high addition rate it will bring those, really spicy flavors through in your beer. We use rye in a wheat hybrid that we make in our own brewery, and we find that the rye balances the wheat well and brings through that nice spicy finish in the wheat beer. We have other versions of rye, Cara rye, and then we have here, we're going to have a look at the wheat malt. So wheat malt is a malted product. It's used in a whole wide variety of beers, mainly used for head retention and body, but also can be used in higher dosage rates for wheat beers or Hefeweizens. Wheat does have enzyme activity which will allow it to ferment out. And I'll just quickly look at the difference between wheat and torrefied wheat. Main difference being is that there's no enzymes, and you're going to need the diastatic power from the base malt and torrefied wheat to carry it through. Now, how is torrefied wheat created? So torrefication is, I suppose, is best described as, there's really hot plates, and the wheat passes through underneath that, and the heat going down on it, I think it's like a 30 to 40 second period heating at 400 to 450 degrees Celsius really pops the grain out, and you can see there that it's puffed out really, really well. So one point to be aware of is that torrefied wheat would have a larger percentage of protein, and you want to be wary of additions like that there in relation to haze stability. So if there's too much protein, there'll be too much colloids in the suspension, and if that's a heavy suspension, it could drop out and mean that you wouldn't retain your haze. And I know that's important now for a lot of people with the New England IPA and more hazy beer trend that appears to be taking place. One point I want to cover next in relation to oats. So these are flake torrefied oats. It's basically the oat husk. The oat containing the husk has been processed, and I want to highlight the difference between these and porridge oats. So one thing that you need to be aware of when using oats is the level of beta glucans. So beta glucans can create issues in that it make the wort very viscous. Could have issues with runoff and issues with fermentation as well if there's too many beta glucans there. So porridge oats are designed, I suppose, deliberately to have really high beta glucan levels because it's a health food, whereas these we would want them to be a more muted beta glucan level so that you can have that haze without the issues in terms of processing, whether that be at a home brew or commercial brewing level. Now oats, there's lots of different versions of oats. So we've got flake torrefied oats, we have malted naked oats, and the pilot batch of toasted malted oats. If you're using porridge oats, they haven't been degermed and they may cause issues further down the line with the lipids. These have been processed and degermed and they're safe to use. Now, oats can create that really nice, creamy, velvety mouthfeel. I think they work exceptionally well, not only in New England IPA style beers, but also in stouts and larger imperial beers to assist with the mouthfeel in relation to that. Yeah, so the dosage rate is, you're going to want to be up to a maximum of about 25%. Flake torrefied barley, used a lot in stouts. This is obviously flake torrefied and then rolled. It's really to aid with head retention and mouthfeel. A lot more of a stronger flavour, perhaps, than what you would get from wheat. Another new product, another new adjunct really that we've brought in. This is flake torrefied buckwheat. Very interesting product in that we are seeing a lot of people starting to move towards mixed fermentation and sour beer production. This can add a really unique depth of flavour, and also, as I've maybe mentioned before in other videos, with the creation of sour beers and lambics and spontaneous and mixed fermentation beers, you're wanting to create complex sugars that allows the bugs to eat into that to create a depth of flavour. This is the type of product that really delivers on that. We've used this product successfully in a saison and it adds a nice spicy note, and we felt that it worked exceptionally well. Flake torrefied rice. So one of the largest beer brands in the world is Budweiser American Light Lager. Again, probably one of the most famous beer styles is light lager. They proudly advertise flaked rice on the label of their beer, and flake torrefied rice has basically been heated up to make it suitable for use in the brew house. So this can be added to the mash without having to do a separate cereal mash, so you can just add it as you would with your malt. It's a great product for brewing low gluten or gluten-free beers as well. Okay, if you're wanting to use flake torrefied rice and you're wondering at what levels to use it, it can be used up to 40%. So flake torrefied maize, obviously you can see, takes the maize roots, high temperature processing to pre-gelatinize the starchy endosperm. It's mainly for use in lager, so it's used for colour adjustment for lightening the wort. It also adds a very unique corn-like sweetness. Estimated use up to 25%. So like adjuncts, we've briefly covered malted, non-malted, and then obviously sugars an adjunct as well. So we carry a few different types of sugar here. So we've dextrose monohydrate, which we refer to commonly as brewing sugar. It will ferment out 100%. And then we have the Belgian candy cane sugar. So we have the light and the brown, and we also have the candy syrups. Probably best suggested use for these is just for throwing up the ABV. I wouldn't really say that they bring anything else unless you're going down the route of Belgian style brewing, and then the candy syrups and the candy cane sugar would bring other flavour profiles. I haven't a lot of experience in Belgian brewing, but I do know that we use the candy cane sugar in a Belgian triple at our own brewery, and it's added roughly 20 minutes before the end of the boil. And the reason we do that is, one, that throws up the sugar content, but also gives that enough time in the boil process to make sure everything's been sterilised correctly. So look guys, that's a very quick look at adjuncts. We're going to start covering these in the coming months in more detail, perhaps breaking it down into looking at each individual adjunct and tips and tricks on how to extract more out of them. As with everything, we have a lot of information on our blog, and we'll put the link in the comments below that you can refer to that in relation to the adjuncts. You know, we've master brewers and brewers that work with us, and our distribution partners, the likes of Crisp Malt, where the majority of these products come from, and we're very pleased to say that they support us with free technical support. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'll try our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. One final thing I want to highlight is that we're very privileged to work with Crisp Malting Company. Their sister company is Micronised food products. That means that we get exclusive access to these products, and it means that we get to bring the products to the marketplace first. If you need any information or further data on any of these products, don't hesitate to get in touch and we'll get you technical support. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy brewing.